Dr. BMS viewer, are you a parent who is planning to send their child abroad for studies? Or are you a young person who is being prepared to go and study abroad? I would like us to have a discussion about this subject, the Dr. BMS style. Often in my work, I receive patients coming to me for rehabilitation from addiction to alcohol and drugs, sometimes even with outright mental illnesses, which the parents say developed when they went abroad for studies. I would like us to discuss deeply about this issue of studying abroad and how it can cause or be associated with behaviors like abuse of alcohol and drugs. So often in our country, Kenya, we like sending our children abroad to study. It is prestigious, and when the opportunity comes, it's taken up quickly and people really feel nice about it to send their loved ones abroad. And so we have young Kenyans. Australia is a popular destination, the UK, the US, India, all over the place. And when these young people get there, sometimes things don't go as expected, and they come back with problems like I've described: alcohol and drugs of abuse, addiction, which sometimes make them come to Dr. BMS for rehabilitation. So then the question is, what happens? Is this association true, or is it a myth? By just going to study abroad, does it mean that you are at a higher risk of developing some of these problems like addictions than someone who studied here in Kenya? This is the question I would like us to ponder as Dr. BMS community, and I would invite you, my listeners, to send in your comments, your experiences about this subject, so that we discuss, we help those people who are planning to do this, who are already on the way, so that they avoid these pitfalls. As always, if this is your first time on this channel, Dr. BMS channel, we discuss societal issues that have a bearing on our health as individuals and as families, as society, both the health of our bodies, our minds, and our soul. Hence the name Dr. BMS. If you like what you're hearing, what you'll be hearing, I'll request you to consider subscribing to our channel. We're just about to reach 1,000 subscribers, and I'm excited because it's a milestone to get to 1,000 subscribers. So if you can just click that button, be a subscriber, then you help the channel grow. And also send in your comments, as I've said, in the comment section below. I'll read them up and we can discuss. So then, people want to take their children to get the best education. As it is now, the best education in the world is found outside Kenya, is found in the developed countries. Kenya is not at the moment. And so when the chance comes, we are eager to grab it and send our loved ones. And on the surface, it is a good thing, very good thing. Anyone would go for it, including yours truly. And so by discussing this, I'm not in any way denigrating or belittling that move when someone makes it. It is a really important move. But I would like us to be aware about the pitfalls that can happen when these persons go abroad, which we did not anticipate and which can derail their career and sometimes even their lives. The topic of alcohol and drug of addiction is an important topic on this channel for Dr. BMS, and this is where I would like us to focus primarily on in this subject of studying abroad. So when your loved one leaves to go and study abroad, what we have observed as we receive these patients coming into this center and debriefing them, getting the details of what happened from themselves and their families, what comes out is that they go abroad and they find a different socio, cultural, and even economic environment compared to where they're coming from, Kenya. And how they adopt to this new environment becomes the determiner of if the outcome of their study will be okay or not. Also, their ability, their maturity, their support systems while they are there, the fallback positions there and here also determine a lot. And this is what I would like to draw attention to. So we have observed that primarily these people find a different environment out there because Kenya and Africa in general, we are still living the communal life, the conservative life, family values, community values, cultural norms, and taboos are still more pronounced here in Kenya, in Africa, than they are in some of the places that these young people go to study. And so when they get there, they find a scenario where they've been removed from a more conservative, a more cohesive society to a society where individualism is more pronounced, liberalism is more pronounced, and so that liberal individualism casts this person into a space where they are alone and they have to make tough decisions about themselves, about what to do, what not to do, without the support that they are used to when they are living in Africa, in Kenya. This sometimes is a challenge for these people, especially the younger ones. It is like the younger you are, the more challenging this can be. And then it can lead them to make choices that bring bad outcomes, including getting addicted to alcohol and drugs, as I'm discussing in this video today. So when you look at this scenario of the cultural shift, the culture shock, the difference in culture, and you throw in other things that are reality in today's world. For example, we have a lot of consumerism. In fact, you can call it predatory consumerism, where business outfits, entrepreneurs, producers are interested in selling their products at all costs. And sometimes there are no moral values associated with this business of the selling of the business products that they make. And so for them, what drives them is the bottom line. How much have you sold? It does not matter if this product is harmful to the person receiving it, is not value for money. The person who has bought it, for them, they would like to make the sales. In situations where the government or society generally represented by government has not come in to regulate, to bring in consumer protections and other regulatory mechanisms, then you find this commerce is predatory. It is tipped heavily in favor of the producers, the sellers, the entrepreneurs. And this young person finding themselves in that environment can become a victim because they were not able to make that decision to see, like, this is a line that should not be crossed and I will not cross. So the consumerism of today's world can add a negative twist and a big one in that whole scenario of the culture shift as you go abroad. Then we have the second thing of social media, marketing, media in general. We have a new phenomenon, the social media, where things are thrust into our faces, into our space all the time. And so this young person who is out there and supported may find themselves having to deal with a bombardment of information, some of them misleading, luring them into making choices about what to consume, what not to consume, coming through social media and other channels of marketing. And if they do not have a support system that can try to regulate them, to moderate them, then this can become a big problem for these young people. The third thing we have observed as we talk to these people, we debrief them, so to say, is that the very lack of social systems that can help moderate you becomes a big disadvantage. You're out there, you've gone to Australia or UK to read, and you are alone. Your family, the people who really care about you unconditionally, are not with you. So you are with other students in the hostels, probably in the campus. But looked at it in totality, even being with these other students, the problems, the challenges you are facing are the same that they are facing. So you are like a herd of sheep who are amenable to the machinations of a predatory entrepreneur or a wolf, I like to call them in this sense. And so the numbers of you having colleagues around may not matter. And so you find yourself without the benefit of the social networks that you are used to while you are in Kenya, which could help you to overcome some of these challenges. And in the process, these young people then start making choices that are not good for their career progression, for their study, which is what took you there. And one of the choices that these people make sometimes is to start engaging in drugs of recreation a little bit too much. So it can start small and then it escalates. Alcohol comes in, marijuana comes in, heroin, cocaine, name them. And these persons are making these choices as a result of many factors layered in. They have been removed from environments they're used to. They're trying to cope with difficult environments. They have little support from people who really care about them. So they are amenable to people who can mislead them. They are being bombarded by people whose interest is just to make sales, okay? And where they are, the regulatory mechanisms that can safeguard them from these predatory entrepreneurs are few. And so they start making choices that they should not make, including dabbling in alcohol and drug abuse. And they slide down that slope until they have failed in the primary objective of studying. They have dropped out of college. They have forsaken the degree course they were studying altogether. Some of them even end in the wrong side of the law. So they have been arrested, there is a police record, and some get deported, or their families receiving adverse reports about the well-being of their loved ones who are studying abroad, go and bring them, and they end up in rehabilitation center like Fountain of Hope, where I'm talking to you from. And so we get this picture repeatedly of young persons who went abroad with a great promise of success, but then when they went there, they got there, things got awry, they got into wayward behavior, and the parents are like, this child was disciplined, focused, goal-oriented. We don't know what happened, what went wrong when they got there, but sometimes it's a bit too late, and we try the best we can to rehabilitate. And even when we succeed, sometimes a chance to go back abroad and study and get that degree is lost forever. So then, what can we do about this scenario? There are no easy answers from any quarter, but we have made a few observations that we can suggest to families, to parents, and even to the young people going to study. First is that in our view, as professionals here at Fountain of Hope, we think that if it is possible for a family to have their loved one do the first degree of study here in Kenya, and then proceed to go for a second degree or specialization abroad, that is better than when they go for the first degree abroad and continue. The reason we observe and conclude this way is that the time they are going in for the first degree, they are generally a little bit younger. And the younger you are, the more vulnerable you are to these evil forces that I've mentioned. And generally, again, your brain is not that mature, and the effects, the bad effects, the harmful effects of alcohol and drug of addiction, they take toll on younger minds than on older minds. So if your son, your daughter can do their first degree here, you have an opportunity to guide them, to observe them, to see if they are vulnerable to those influences that I talked about, because those influences also happen even here in Kenya. Only that here at home, there is more support system available, and it can rescue this young person from the pitfalls of those behaviors and temptations than when they are out there. So if that can be applied, then it is better it be applied when this person is younger here, and when they have shown that they are stable, they are more mature, more focused, they make better decisions, then they can go out there abroad and study for a second degree and progress their career and get that big degree from abroad. That is a better way than when you start right away without knowing how it will be. We also suggest that those children going out to study, as much as possible, let them go to study in places, in communities where there is a community of Kenyans, of East Africans, of Africans who can support them, initiate them, support them, and guide them in the positive ways of surviving out there. And you as a parent, you can make an effort to know these social systems before you send your loved ones. And right now we are in the information age. A lot of this information is available online, so you can check, you can even talk. They have associations, you can talk to officials, you can, if you can visit there as you're taking your child to school, you can go and see these groups and introduce your child to these groups. This then brings the third recommendation that we make, that as much as possible, if your budget is really that tight, then you may consider spending that money for education here than abroad. Because when they go out there, it is more of a jungle in the economic sense than it is here. Here, you're able to come home over weekend, visit a friend, an uncle, wherever, and get some help, some food, some support. When they go out there abroad, it's them and themselves. If you don't have money for hostel, to pay a hostel, good accommodation, you don't have money for food, then nobody is going to support you. If you didn't get some sponsorship, some scholarship, then it's going to be a problem for you. If you don't have the hours to work, you don't have the visa, the legal permission to work, then it's going to be a problem. You'll have to trade off some things. Sometimes you skip classes because you want to go and work. Sometimes you work illegally and you start having problems. And now you see like what is happening in the US. The Trump administration has become very strict on some of these things. Just a small violation and you're in trouble, you are deported, your education is discontinued. So it can get to be very problematic. And this is more accentuated in situations where you're sending your son, your daughter out with very little money. And so when they get there, the wiggle room for them to do what they need to do effectively is very little, and the pressure starts piling on you. Sometimes they have to make tough choices to break the law or to sacrifice the main objective of education for them to survive. That is not what you want, and that is what sometimes can tip them into behaviors like addiction to alcohol, drugs, peddling, being induced to start selling, being merchandise mules for this, and they end up in trouble with the law. They end up in addictions. Some of them end up even losing their lives because of these problems that they have encountered when they got there, and they did not anticipate that this can happen. Food for thought. Tell me what you think. If it resonates with you or a situation, give me a comment, and let's keep this conversation going for the betterment of our bodies, our minds, and our souls. See you again in another video of Dr. BMS.